Hello and welcome to KSPN TV Sports Center, brought to you by Pizza Man Dan's. We're your hosts, Sammy Fawn, alongside Judo Kanyas, and we're here to recap another week of Conejo Oaks baseball. The Oaks currently 15-8, following another 5-game week on the 2025 season. And let's take a look at this past week. The Conejo Oaks finished this week 3-2. It started this past Tuesday with what was a 4-2 loss to the Santa Barbara Foresters on Tuesday. The Foresters, first place in the CCL South, they scored 2 runs in that ninth inning. And, Jude, I feel like for that particular game, it was a little quiet in a lot of ways. And then, late in the game in that ninth inning, things really picked up for the Foresters.
Yeah, no, it certainly did. It was kind of a theme that we saw. The starting pitching for the Oaks really was strong this whole entire week, but it was really those final innings when the relief pitching came in, and we saw that with the Santa Barbara Foresters on Tuesday, like you talked about. They scored 2 runs, and the Oaks aren't able to capitalize in the bottom of the ninth.
Well, taking you through the rest of that week, the following day, the Oaks responded big in an epic way with a walk-off 6-5 win against the San Diego Bombers. That game ended in the bottom of the ninth inning with 2 walks, followed by 2 hit-by-pitches, all happened consecutively with nobody out. And now we head to July 4th. Oaks suffered a 7-5 loss to the Philippine national team, and that was just the Philippines' third win total of the season. It was their second win in a row, but 7-5, we saw the Philippine national team score 7 runs, all 7 of the runs in that fifth inning alone. And Philippines batted around plus, but Oaks would respond with 2 wins the next 2 days, a 5-4 win against the San Diego Waves. It was the first time the Oaks faced the Waves this season so far. And that game, we saw a long 2-run home run by Devin Wilkes, which ultimately sealed the deal in that game. That came in the 7th inning, and it was way over the wall. And next day, we saw more home run action as well with Jake Schwartz, the first baseman in that game. He launched a home run down the right field line. That was the first run the Oaks scored that game. They would go on to pound Philippines 8-1 in that game. And I think one thing we saw, the Philippines national team, they had their biggest opportunity to score in that first inning when they loaded the bases with nobody out, but Philippines just couldn't capitalize. But certainly a strong week for the Oaks, and they're just about a game and a half behind the Santa Barbara Foresters. And Jude, if you want to take us through the CCL South standings as of this recent week.
Yeah, let's get to it. Well, the Santa Barbara Foresters, the team up in Santa Barbara, they are 17-7. They continue to cruise at the #1 spot for another straight week. The Conejo Oaks at 15-8, they're 1.5 games behind, and the Conejo Oaks and Santa Barbara Foresters will face off this week. So certainly a game to keep your eye on. And then the Orange County Riptide at 13-11, the Arroyo Seco Saints 11-11, and then the Academy Barons 8-13, and then the 3 affiliates, San Diego Waves 3-5, the San Diego Bombers 3-9. And the Philippines baseball group 3-12.
And now we will take you through the CCL North standings. Thank you, Jude, for those standings. We look at the Alameda Merchants leading the CCL North with a 12-7 record in the CCL North, and they're followed very closely by the Walnut Creek Crawdads. Now, Walnut Creek, they've won 2 more games than the Merchants, but they've also dropped a couple more games than them, and they are followed in the standings by the Sonoma Stompers, a 17-11 record, and they're followed closely in 4th place by the San Luis Obispo Blues. Now, the Oaks will face the Blues a couple times this season at the end of July, once at home and once on the road. Next up in 5th place is the Menlo Park Legends. They are 10-14 overall, quite a few games behind the Blues. And they are followed by the San Francisco Seagulls, who the Oaks will face this week on Thursday for a 4 p.m. game. And, they're the first CCL North team that the Oaks will face this season. So should be an exciting one this Thursday for sure.
And now let's get to your Canelo Oaks schedule for this week as we enter the second week here of July. On Tuesday, they will play host to the MLB Academy Barons at 4 p.m. at George Sparky Anderson Field. And then, like Sammy just mentioned, on Thursday, after a day off on Wednesday, the Canelo Oaks will host the San Francisco Seagulls, coming all the way down from Northern California to play a 4 p.m. game at George Sparky Anderson Field. And then it's back in action on Friday. The Oaks will travel up to Santa Barbara to take on the number one seeded in the South Division Santa Barbara Forsters for a 4:30 p.m. start at Eddie Matthews Field at Santa Barbara College. And then on Saturday, the Oaks are still on the road. They'll play the Arroyo Seco Saints for a late one, 6 p.m. under the lights. And then on Sunday, they will play a home game to wrap up this week of Canelo Oaks baseball at a 1 p.m. matinee versus the Arroyo Seco Saints on July 13th at George Sparky Anderson Field.
All right. Thank you, Jude. Well, lots to look forward to this coming week, including a new opponent, but we look forward to another week of Conejo Oaks baseball as the Oaks find themselves off to a 2-game winning streak. We will see you this coming week at George Sparky Anderson Field tomorrow, 4 p.m. alongside Jude Kanyas. My name is Sammy Fawn. Thank you for watching KSPN TV Sports Center.